As the war on Gaza continues, can Israelis and Palestinians come to an agreement to end the bloodshed and create a future of coexistence? Hello, I'm Rida Fakhri. Welcome to the program. Today we continue our discussion with former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert and former Palestinian Foreign Minister Nasser Al-Kidwa. The pair put forward a joint initiative aimed at ending the bloodshed in Gaza and creating the basis for a two-state solution. You both have your work cut out for you. Dr. Kidwa, Mr. Olmert has obviously his, many would say, increasingly right-wing constituents to deal with in the Knesset and outside, and you have got a lot of the hardline Palestinians within Hamas, but also ordinary Palestinian mothers, fathers, children who have lost so much, who have suffered so much devastation over the past year, who will look at you and your effort at peace with Mr. Olmert as a betrayal, some form of betrayal of the Palestinian cause. What do you say to them?
I say they are wrong and you are wrong behind the question. I think that I, as well as I think Mr. Olmert, are people who are struggling for the national interest of our respective people, to start with. Secondly, I do think also, I do believe actually, that the Palestinian situation is very bad, no doubt about that, whether in Gaza or in Ramallah. And the proof is abundant. I think there is no need to get into that. But, changing the Palestinian situation is not something that is going to happen overnight. It will take some time. Now, more importantly, I have to indicate that what you said about the pain and anger on the Palestinian side is correct. But you know what? Especially in Gaza, people want an end to this. It's not true that they want to take revenge only. Of course, revenge is the first feeling in this kind of situation. But then if they think about it a little bit, and they do, they want to have this situation ended, and they want a different kind of situation. I mean, you ask anybody in Gaza and you will be told very clearly. Now, in the West Bank, a little bit less, in Jordan, more than less, and so on and so forth. The rule seems to be the farther you go from the center of action, the less support the idea of reaching peace. But the bottom line is this: we cannot continue as we are. We have to end this road, and we have to find an alternative. And the alternative is definitely a peaceful alternative. And in this regard, I believe that the idea of two states, Israel and Palestine, living side by side on 1967 borders with a swap of land, we agreed 4.4% of the territory, is the only possible alternative. Irrespective of educational hallucination, you can hear from time to time, but these are not feasible and cannot be achieved.
You say it's the only possible solution, Dr. Kidwa, but to many Palestinians, there have been 3 decades of deceit, empty promises,
Yes,
empty slogans, a two-state solution with Israel and Palestine living side by side. But what they have had in the past 3 decades, from the day your late uncle, Yasser Arafat, signed the first Oslo Accord to today, you've had an exponential increase of illegal settlements. You've had endless wars and conflicts.
Yes, I know all these
Why
things,
should they
and
trust
everybody
you
knows.
to make peace when they've seen the empty promises?
I don't ask anybody to trust me. I ask everybody to trust themselves. Do they want to pursue the same road of continuous war and continuous agony and bloodshed, or they want an alternative, peaceful alternative? And I am saying the only alternative is the idea of two states. You refer to Oslo, and let me assure you that what we are proposing have nothing to do with Oslo. It's totally different, and we learned some lessons from the failing process of Oslo, including not using the term two-state solution. We are saying an overall political solution in the form of two states, Israel and Palestine, based on 1967 borders. So yes, I understand all this, but what's the alternative? If someone tells me that, we suffer and we have the right to continue the struggle until we win, please tell me that and tell me how you are going to win. If we cannot win, we need to find a peaceful solution.
But
We
how do you
need to find.
implement this solution, Mr. Olmert? Much of this plan is based on your own proposal in 2008. But it's a vastly different world today. Many would argue that this proposal has been completely overtaken by the events of the last year alone. You now have Israeli cabinet ministers openly calling for the annexation of northern Gaza and the West Bank. These aren't calls for peace, are they?
When I hear that some people may say about Dr. Al-Kidwa that he is a traitor, I think that these are the enemies of peace. These people that may say it to him, or those who say it to me in Israel, are the enemies of peace. They don't want a solution. They don't want a compromise. They don't want to change the realities that we have been living with over the last many years, but particularly over the last year. And they want to continue to kill each other. We are not there. We want to overcome the pains, the obsessions of the past in order to move forward. And now, I don't want to go into these arguments time and again. I think our viewers will be a little bit tired of this, to spread these accusations that for 3 decades now the Israelis were not willing to make peace. Fact is that, and I think that there will not be any opposition to this, that I proposed the Palestinian leader, Dr. Mahmoud Abbas, in 2008, a comprehensive peace agreement on the basis of 2 states, very similar in principle to what we are proposing now. And he, for whatever reason, he didn't have the courage and the vision and the leadership to sign and to say yes. He never said no, as I keep saying all the time, but he never said yes.
He says that he didn't have the time to study the plan properly.
I'm not in the business of now spreading accusations against the Palestinian leader. He knows that he made a mistake, a tragic mistake, that may have, had he not, the whole world would have been different, and certainly the lives of millions of people may have been saved, which is tragic. But we are not there now, we are here. And of course, the Israeli government, as the coalition in Israel, is having some outrageous members that I consider to be terrorists in terms of their past performance, and they are the enemies of any change, and they are the supporters of the messianic groups that want the annexation of the territories. The majority of the Israelis are against it, will be against it, will be fighting against it. And part of what I feel as my challenge and responsibility is that I have to fight against it and raise the voice as strong as I can everywhere, in order to make sure that people will know that most of the Israelis are completely opposed to this, and that they will do everything in order to get rid of these members of the present government, together with the prime minister and the entire cabinet, in order to change the tide in the direction of negotiations and compromise.
But how do you implement this plan, Mr. Olmert? Palestinians always seem to be the ones asked for more concessions. They're being asked to give up more of their land and rights.
How come, excuse me for saying it, I'm not drawing these kind of comparisons. So why would you say that the Palestinians are requested to make more concessions when, according to the my plan, we were supposed to pull out from 95.6% of the territories and swap 4.4% equal sized territories to the Palestinian state, and that we are going to waive the exclusive political sovereignty over the old city of Jerusalem, so that there will be no exclusive political sovereignty in Jerusalem. So to say that only the Palestinians are requested to make the concessions, or that they are requested to make more concessions, I'm not drawing these comparisons. It's immaterial. This is the framework. This is what we think should be done, both Dr. Al-Kidwa and myself. Of course, there are other elements there. The refugee issue, the settlements issue, security issues that will have to be negotiated by the leaders of the 2 sides in order to reach a comprehensive, steady, and a permanent agreement. 4.4% of the territories already host now 82% of the settlers. So by agreement, these territories will be annexed to Israel, but equal-sized territories from what was Israel before 67 will be swapped to become part of Palestine. That's number one. The remaining 18% remains for negotiations. We'll have to find a solution, either that they will remain in the territories and become subject to the Palestine and the Palestinian constitution, or that they will be relocated. So this is not something that has been demanded on a one-sided basis.
The plan does not allow for Palestinian army, even though an army typically is a key component of every sovereign nation.
Against whom? An army against Israel, an army against whom?
Okay.
Does the plan continue to subjugate Palestinians?
Let me remind you of the situation in Costa Rica. Costa Rica has no army. Does this undermine its sovereignty or its ability to take decisions? You know, if you calculate the amount of money you need to have a real army with air force and things like that, not like what we see in the region, you probably will opt for something like that. But you know what? Let me say this. I know lots of stupid arguments, lying arguments that were made against this document. Someone had the audacity to say in straight face that this document Judaize Jerusalem and annex the West Bank. Total nonsense. The guy did not read the document even. And you know what, Rita? The real traitors are those who are sitting in the position of power and do nothing to help their people. We are trying at least to end the war and to help the Palestinian people who are screaming, please help us to end this situation. And most of the people do nothing.
Who do you mean? The top leadership of the Palestinian
Including
Authority?
the top leadership, yes, so what? Including the top leadership and including others, Wizzlings working for the leadership.
Mahmoud Abbas's term in office expired in 2009, yet he still sits in office.
Is it my fault this?
It isn't your fault, but how do you change this political reality, Dr. Kidwa? And Mr. Olmert, we know that Netanyahu is still going to be in office until the next elections, presumably, 2026.
This political reality...
How do you achieve this peace plan with these two obstacles, if you see them as obstacles?
It's not going to be achieved with these obstacles. As long as Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu is in office and as long as Mr. Abbas is in office, there will be no progress in the situation. I understand that. But this does not mean that we need to keep quiet and do nothing. Actually, it makes it even more imperative on us to say that there should be an alternative and this is the way forward. And I challenge anybody to tell me, where did we go under the ceiling of any public positions taken in this regard? Where is it exactly? There isn't. There isn't. And what we are trying to do is, yes, to try to find an alternative. And this is the way to change the political situation in Palestine, which should be changed anyway, because enough is enough. 19, 20 years of the same people having all the powers in their hand in a way that has nothing to do with democracy or even human rights is more than enough and should end.
Mr. Olmert, how much of an obstacle is Netanyahu and the religious Zionist forces within Israel today?
Look, I don't know about religious Zionists. I know about Ben-Gvir and Smotrich. I don't think that they're religious Zionists. They're anti-Zionists because they are against what may bring peace to the people of Israel. And of course, Netanyahu is primarily responsible for it because he's the prime minister and he has got the power, and he prefers to live with these terrorists rather than to move forward in a different direction, which may have changed everything entirely. Look, I want to tell you one thing. You know, we can keep this kind of discussion forever. At the bottom line, when we started, both Dr. Al-Kidwa and myself, Did you think that we had any illusion that everyone will jump on us and hug us and kiss us and tell us how great we are, what wonderful thing we do? We are against the powers that be, both in the Palestinian side and the Israeli side. And this is a very tough challenge that we took upon ourselves to try and change the tide, to try and impact the public opinion. It's not a one-step move. It's not a one-day job. It is something that will last for some time until people will realize, both sides, by the way, both sides, okay, that there is no alternative. There is only one possible political solution for the historical conflict between us and the Palestinians. This is what Dr. Al-Kidwa talks about, and this is what I talk about. There are many other things that can happen. Annexation, partial annexation, full annexation, expulsion of Arabs from the territories, dismantling of Arab villages, lynching people both ways, whatever, terrorist attacks by Hamas, by Islamic Jihad, and many other things. All this can happen. A solution is only one, and this is what we propose. And I don't know to say, I don't have that capacity to be able to offer to you how long it will take. I hope it will take shorter than most people think. I believe that we will get rid of Netanyahu sooner than most people think. I think that his days are numbered. I hope so. And we will do what needs to be done in Israel. Dr. Al-Kidwa and many colleagues that I'm sure he has. I don't know, and I'm not entering into that side because it's not my job. It's his job and it's his friends' jobs. But there are enough very important, powerful, determined Palestinians that are anxious to change the realities in order to somehow come to terms with us and make peace on the basis that we have proposed, which is not annexation, which is not making Jerusalem completely Jewish. On the contrary, we decided that all the parts of Jerusalem which were not part of the state of Israel until 1967 will be part of Palestine and will be the Jerusalem capital of the Palestinian State. So, I mean, people can spread everything that they want and try to incriminate us and make us traitors and accuse us of all kinds of things. This is what we propose.
But will the Knesset accept this, though? Mr. Olmert, the Knesset voted overwhelmingly against Palestinian statehood, even as part of a negotiated settlement. In fact, the resolution passed 68-9. Many said it would, quote, pose an existential danger to Israel to have a Palestinian state.
Of course, I say that the Knesset today has a majority supporting Netanyahu. But when Netanyahu will be forced out and there will be next elections on the basis of what we know from the public opinions that we're taking in Israel for the last year consistently every week, there is an absolute majority opposing Netanyahu that don't trust Netanyahu and will definitely change the makeup of the government and also the policy of the government. So if you want to stick again and to say, yes, but the Knesset voted and the Knesset voted, okay, we heard it, or refer to it, we are going to change the Knesset and we are going to have a different vote when the time will come, hopefully sooner than later. And by the way, we've been around, Dr. Al-Kidwa and myself, all of Europe, and we are going to go further into many other parts of the world today. And I don't remember anyone saying that he is against a two-state solution. I heard everyone says that they support our initiative. And I know that the Americans support our initiative. President Biden said it. And by the way, you will be surprised. You may not know, which I don't blame you. But in the deal of the century, which was offered by President Trump in 2020, he talked explicitly about two states. Of course, in a different pattern, in a different format, in a different procedure than we support. But he talked about two states. And therefore, don't count out Trump. You may find that at the end of the day, he will be the disaster of Netanyahu when he will support a two-state solution. And if Netanyahu will be opposed to it, hopefully he will not be prime minister by then. But I trust Trump will be strong enough and powerful enough to impose his attitude on the Israeli government.
Dr. Kidwa, how do you react to what Mr. Olmert just said? Do you believe the problem is just Netanyahu, or is it wider than that? How significant a hurdle are the people within Israel and those within the US administration, Christian Zionists or the like, who believe that the annexation of the West Bank could go ahead?
The annexation of the West Bank is exactly the antithesis of what we are proposing. That's number one. Number two, of course, the incoming of the president-elect Trump will be very important because, after all, this is the United States of America with all its strength and weight. But you know what? How you respond to Trump and his position? You respond exactly by what we have been trying to do, by presenting an alternative, a viable alternative, one that can be implemented without any difficulties, any serious difficulties, provided, of course, there is a political decision to do that. So anyway, listen, the Palestinian people are there. They were not going to disappear. And, they are upholding with insistence their national rights. And at the end of the day, it's going to happen. And these national rights can be summed up in their right to self-determination and national independence in their state, Palestine, on 1967 borders. And again, this is the crux of what we are proposing. It is right, it's correct, it can be implemented, it should be implemented, and there is no alternative to that.
Mr. Olmert, one of the key demands in your proposal is the release of hostages in Gaza. Do you agree with those who believe that Netanyahu is doing all he can to prevent the release of hostages, to prevent an agreement with Hamas that would lead to their release in order to stay in power?
One of the main ingredients or components of our proposal for the end of the war is, of course, the return of all the hostages and the release of Palestinian prisoners from Israel, and the end of the war and the withdrawal of Israel from the Gaza, because Gaza, as I believe and as Dr. Kidwa believes, is not part of the state of Israel. It should be part of Palestine, and that's what we propose. Now, Netanyahu is making all kinds of difficulties. It's true. I campaign against him in Israel because of this, and I hope that we will overcome this. Netanyahu is, unfortunately, is in power. And as I said, he has a majority in parliament. But as I also added and emphasized time and again, is that the majority of the Israelis do not trust him on this. And I believe that we will be able to overcome his opposition, to force him into an agreement, to force him to end the war in Gaza, to force him to pull out entirely from Gaza, of course, to force him to accept a deal that will bring back all the Israelis, those who are alive, and the bodies of the others as soon as possible, and then that we will embark on negotiations. Is it easy? No. Is it simple? No.
But the question was, do you believe that he is prioritizing the release of hostages, or quite the opposite?
I say that we are fighting against him because of this.
Dr. Kidwa, the Palestinians held captive in Israeli jails, incommunicado. We know that a lot of human rights organizations do not have access to them anymore, but some of the recent counts put them at about 10,000, including children. How important is it to seek their release? And do you have any specific names of captives you would prioritize?
Of course, it's very important, and of course it should be released, and this is part of the deal, the release of hostages and the release of an agreed number of Palestinian prisoners that we left it to the negotiators to reach that kind of agreement. And now that I know that the number of prisoners is increasing and the conditions are very inhumane, but this is all the more an important reason to proceed and to try to end the current situation and to reach a settlement.
Thank you both very much indeed. Former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert, former Foreign Minister Nasser Al-Kidwa. Thank you so much. Thank you. While this proposal may not be readily accepted by many Palestinians and Israelis, its authors hope it can provide an alternative to the current hopelessness and despair. From me, Rida Fakhri, and the entire team, thanks for watching.